Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. To ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more, call in with questions live. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari. I'm here with my assistant Anna Ross. And today, this is a powerful hour of motivation. We're all about helping you through those challenging times so that you can really embrace life in a big way. Living Full Out is about taking action in your life. It's about seeking resources so that you can move forward. So tell me, Anna, what's going on today?
All right, well, we have another really exciting show coming up. First, we're going to take some live coaching calls, and if you have any questions or you want some advice on how to overcome challenges in your own life, you can reach us at 1-800-333-0001. Again, that number is 1-800-333-0001. You can also live tweet us at Nancy Solari. So first up, we have we have a really great guest lineup. We have Eric McElveny. He lost part of his leg in Afghanistan, but that hasn't stopped him from competing in Ironman races, which, from my understanding, are intense.
Amazing.
And we're also going to meet up with Kristen Renton, and she's going to talk to us about her work with Lupus LA. And then finally, you have a coaching corner session at the end of the hour.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
So much to do today, so little time. But do tell us, what is going on Twitter? We had a lot of responses this week.
We did. We had an active Twitter week. Basically, we asked a couple of questions. One of them was, what color would you be and why? We had a response from @DavidAugust who said, hard to choose just one color to be. Right now, perhaps blue, powerful, without being overbearing.
Wow, David, we are so glad to know that you're feeling powerful. That's a great way to be. And, you know, honestly, what color would you be?
Okay, I was thinking about this on the way over because I suspected you would ask me.
Yep.
I was going to say purple because that's my favorite color, deep, rich purple. But I'm going to have to go with orange because in my mind it's just very lively, vigorous, energetic, full of life.
I love orange. Orange is a very beautiful color, very dynamic, very strong. Now, it's funny because I actually chose purple. I think of purple as being very courageous, very passionate color. And having been legally blind for many, many years of my life, I've needed a lot of courage and a lot of passion to get through it all. But that's very, very exciting. And
also the color of royalty. So.
Is it the color of royalty?
Yep, I think so.
That is awesome. So, I mean, if any of you have any other feedback on that Twitter question, do chime in or call us today. Again, we're live.
We're here, 1-800-333-0001.
Perfect.
And we've actually already got some callers on the line. Right now, we have Lilith with us.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Lilith. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Well, thank you.
Hi, Lilith. Do tell us, you're here with Anna and myself. How is your day going? What's going on?
Well, my day is going good, but I'm calling in to seek your advice. Yeah, I'm a gorgeous woman who gives all of her time to my family, my business, empowering others. And I've been divorced 10 years now, and no one special has really come into my life to disrupt that routine. So again, I need to reach out to you to find out, you know, what can I do to open myself up to that opportunity for romance and intimacy in my life.
You know what? You bring actually a great question up because so many people are seeking romance, but I mean that true romance it's hard to find. It's not just everywhere we go, and so chemistry is something that you have to feel. And so I'm actually glad that you took time to explore your career, really build that up. You know, take time for yourself, and now it sounds like you're seeking that romance. What are you doing to put yourself out there? Are you going out often with friends? Are you attempting to meet new people?
Well, I am in a space where I'm doing some growth and development classes with Landmark, and so I'm always having people around me in that space. I'm a part of the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce. I'm also very active in the church. Okay. So I'm fully out there, but I seem to get caught up more in the work that I'm doing and have to stop to really be present to that, you know?
You know, just a thought, and I want Anna's opinion on this too, but one thought that I have, and I've gone through this myself, sometimes when we talk a lot about our career or we talk a lot about maybe our kids, we start to define ourselves by one sector of our life. And what I want you to try to do is open yourself up more to looking for romance. Talk to people about it. Say, you know, I'm looking for this kind of a guy. Really put yourself out there more, because I get the feeling that you might be talking a lot about your business and how busy you are, but you might want to put out there to people about this wonderful man that you're seeking. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, I think
That's great.
a lot of
That's
the time too, romance and things like this, they always happen when you're not necessarily really looking, but when you're being open. So maybe, you know, as just kind of a, not even really a challenge, but let's say you're active in your church. Maybe each day, you know, let's say you're in church one day and it's your goal to talk to one new person that day. So you talk to a man in the church. And, you know, you get to know that person. It doesn't, you know, just meet a new person every day and just really be open and, you know, live full out.
You know what? I love it. Truly live full out. So what can you do this week different than you've been typically doing? What can you commit to this week?
Well, what I can commit to, because I'm really out there, I just need to be committed to having the conversation with all those now, to put that before me.
And so, right. And so this week, I want you to, rather than talking so much about your business this week, I want you to focus on talking more about relationships with people. It might come from complimenting someone. Oh, I just love the relationship that the two of you have. I am so looking forward to finding my Mr. Right. Or going up to someone and saying, you know, how did you two meet? Because, you know, I'm definitely looking in 2015 to meet someone special. Do you see how that just opens up new conversations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that.
Perfect.
I like that.
Well, do me a favor. Call us back, you know, as you go along here in the next couple of weeks. Keep us posted on your progress, okay?
I will absolutely do that. Thank you.
You got it. Wonderful. And have a great rest of your day. Hold the line. Let us go ahead and get your information so we can support you, okay?
All right, dear.
Take care. Okay. Bye-bye. She brings up such a wonderful question, because honestly, we're all looking for love. We're all looking for that connection, and we have to put ourselves out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We actually have another caller right away. We have we have Matt on the line now.
Okay. Hi, Matt. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Matt. You're here with Anna and myself. Tell us what's going on today.
Nothing really. I'm just kind of at a bit of a crossroads here with kind of student loans and kind of a crossroads in my life in terms of jobs and all that. And I basically have a job that I enjoy, but I also kind of have other things I want to pursue. And this is kind of the age of 27. I don't have a lot of commitments necessarily, so this is kind of the point where I want to go see what else is out there. But I also have basically tons of expenses, and I got to make sure that I stay on top of them. And not only that, but my work currently requires a ton of hours, so I don't necessarily even get a chance to plan or look for anything else. I have all my time is spent there, and then with the student loans and rent and car loans and all that, it basically puts me at kind of like inability to, you know, pursue anything. So I wanted to know kind of maybe how I could potentially attack this problem when I really don't have much time to even spend looking at it and being able to kind of look elsewhere.
You know what? You actually bring up a great question, and so many of our viewers are probably nodding their heads saying, yes, I'm right where he is, because sometimes we do get stuck in life where we feel like there isn't a lot of wiggle room to go one direction or the other. But I do believe in planning and making this transition to go to a successful another career that you're going to really love. It isn't going to be an overnight leap. But what you can do is you can do a lot of planning. For example, yes, this current job takes a lot of your time, and you know, obviously you have student loans to pay, and it's your main outlet for income at this time. But think about perhaps networking groups that you can connect with in the weekend, like on the weekends or in the evenings during the week. You could even join different clubs online, whether it be different social media platforms, just starting to make those connections, even on LinkedIn. But then once you start to make connections, take them one step further. Have a phone call with someone. You can do that off hours outside of your job. Consider, and maybe even consider, what is it that you want to do? What would be your dream job?
Well, so that's a great question. There are a couple different things, but it would be more so looking to not necessarily sit at a desk for the rest of my life. It's basically what it is. It's kind of, there are a couple of hobbies that I have on the side, including brewing and woodworking and things like that, where it would be something where I at least like to pursue to the point where like maybe I could make money doing it, but that would take some time. That would take some sort of basically a buffer financially to be able to kind of take that leap. And unfortunately, just with how things work and time and everything, it's not possible. But the end goal is to kind of not be forced to have to go 9 to 5 sitting at a desk. That's the biggest thing for me right now that I kind of aspire to. And so that's you're not a big fan of,
you're not a big fan of the desk, are you? Not really.
No. Just like the corporate lifestyle. I mean, you got to move around a little bit, I think, and if you can get yourself into a position where you can make money and not have to do that, that would be wonderful. So.
Well, you know what, Matt? I believe in job shadowing in the way that if you have friends or people that you know that are doing maybe more entrepreneurial jobs that you find to be interesting, you might ask them what was their path. How did they raise the money? How did they get to where they are today? What would you say?
I agree with you, and there's always a lot of different routes you can take. Your problem is really a common one. It's a catch-22 as well, because you need to work to pay bills, and then you need to pay the bills you need to work to get the job you want. Like, there's just a lot of conflicting things going on, and it's always a really hard leap to take to get to the thing that you want ultimately.
But I believe, Matt, that you can, and I think that calling in today is like an amazing first step. But then again, if you take the job shadowing, if you, again, try to network, really build a community. We're really big here at Living Full Out about having a community to support you. If you take on doing one thing each week or one new thing each month, meeting one new person, job shadowing somebody, researching possible jobs, and I know you'll do great. Thank you so much, though, for calling in, and keep us posted on how things go.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matt. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
He brings up a great question, and wow, I can't believe how fast this segment is going.
I know, yeah.
Wow, so keep the calls coming. We're here for you.
I was also thinking after this call, there are a lot of online resources, and you kind of touched on this, but something like Backpage.com, LinkedIn.com, Craigslist with care can be legitimate with care, depending on what it is.
Absolutely. So what do we have coming up next?
All right, well, next up, we have our first guest, Eric McElveny. And so Eric is a former Marine. He served in Afghanistan. He lost a part of his leg there, but that hasn't stopped him from taking part in these extreme Ironman competitions, which involve running and biking and swimming, maybe flying and like shooting arrows. I don't know, just a lot of things. But and he travels across the country now, and he shares his story, he inspires, and he motivates others. So we'll be right back to get motivated with Eric right after this video showing his story.
That is great. See you soon.
It was December 9th, 2011. It was about 3 years ago. As 4 a.m. came around, I was waking up. I was sleeping on the ground in my sleeping bag with my 4-man team. I was in Afghanistan. We were going on a patrol that morning. We were leaving at 5:30, and I was up at 4 to do final preparation. We went on that patrol. It ended up being pretty insignificant for the most part of that patrol. We went out. It was pretty early, so there weren't even really that many Afghans coming up, and we talked to a few. Nothing crazy happened. We started heading back to our patrol base, and that's when it happened. I stepped on an improvised explosive device. I triggered an explosion underneath my right foot. It was a very violent experience. The blast picked my body up and threw me to the ground. I was laying on my back. I had a concussion. At first, I didn't know what was going on, but I was conscious. And I wasn't feeling any pain. I began slowly to kind of figure out what was going on. I realized I was in Afghanistan. I started putting things together, and I figured I stepped on an IED because that was the weapon of choice for the Taliban at that point. And I knew what IEDs did to people. I didn't feel any pain yet. It was strange. When I didn't feel pain and I knew I stepped on an IED, I thought that there was a chance that I was dying. And shortly after that, life picked up. Life was no longer in slow motion, and it began to hurt. All of a sudden, my corpsman, Doc Schramm, he was 21 years old at the time, he came up to me. He threw his knee into my femoral artery, which made things hurt even worse. He threw a tourniquet on, and he said, "Hey, sir, your leg's a little bit mangled, but you're going to be all right. We're going to get you out of here." Within 40 minutes, I was into surgery. It was a life-saving thing. It was absolutely amazing. When I woke up after surgery, my right leg was amputated below the knee. There were a lot of bandages on my left leg, bandages all over my arm. I was in pretty bad shape, but I was alive. I'm grateful for the Marines that were there. They were so efficient. They did their job so quickly. To get me out of there in 17 minutes was absolutely amazing, and that's awesome. The thing is, though, that morning when I woke up, when I was getting ready, brushing my teeth, doing the shaving thing, I had no idea. I did not expect my life to dramatically change, but it did. And I think I'm here because of the stuff that I've learned in the past 3 years. Some of the habits, some of the traits, some of the schools of thought that I've used to help me in the coming months has been amazing. And I realize that it translates to other people's lives.
Eric McElvaney, a former Marine who lost part of his leg after stepping on an IED in Afghanistan in 2011.
And when I was in the hospital, I was getting a lot of support. My boss, he sent me an email, which really changed my mindset from, okay, this is bad, to he asked me when I was going to run my first marathon. And because he kind of challenged me with running a marathon, that's when I decided that I'm going to one-up him, and I'm going to run an Ironman. I'm going to run my first marathon during the last leg of my first Ironman.
Next to finish is retired Marine and challenged athlete Eric McElvaney. He crosses the line in 11:54:19.
Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and I am here with former Marine Eric McElvaney. And Eric is so amazing. Let me tell you, he has been, he was a U.S. Marine for 7 years, and then he got injured, and you had to have part of your leg amputated. And he then went on to not just give up, he went on to do Ironmans. I mean, those are so incredible. I can't even imagine how difficult that would be. And he now inspires people with his story all around the country. Eric, thank you for coming, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is an awesome opportunity being with you today.
Absolutely. And you know what, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for your service to our country. I'm sure you get that quite a bit, but I can't even imagine what you went through, and so I'm just really, truly honored to be here with you today.
You're welcome.
But take me back just a bit. I mean, our viewers at home saw the video before this, and we know that you were in combat, you got injured, but just kind of take me back just a little bit to what that was like for you.
Okay, yeah, it was a little over 3 years ago. So I was serving a deployment in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. I was a Marine infantry officer. Really, really cool opportunity to lead a small team, and we were embedded into an Afghan Army infantry company, working alongside training and mentoring them. And it was a great experience, very unique, very different. And unfortunately, I got hurt. I was wounded. I stepped on an improvised explosive device, an IED. It triggered an explosion underneath my right foot and led to the amputation of my right leg, some damage to my left leg, my left forearm, and my brain. And it was definitely challenging and scary at first, and I woke up feeling a little different, but it is what it is.
Well, you survived though, and that's the thing. I mean, you made it through, and take us back to being in that hospital bed. You know, there were some very special people that came along the way that gave you inspiration. And you were telling me that your daughter was one of your biggest forms of inspiration, right?
Yes, yeah. My daughter was amazing. Yeah, she was 5 years old at the time. I remember I left for the the deployment in August, and so she was starting her kindergarten class that September, and I was injured in December. My date of injury was December 9th. I was hit on December 9th in Afghanistan, and it took me 6 days, which I thought was really quick, to get back to San Diego, where I was living at that time. And in those 6 days, my wife had a difficult job of telling my daughter that I got hurt. And my daughter, she processed the information, and she was the first one to realize that I was going to be home for Christmas. Oh. And I thought that was so cool, because it was, that put a smile on my face when my wife told me that. And it was a child, I had the fact that I had lost a leg. Instead of her focusing her energy on that, she quickly and very purely pulled something positive out from it. And that's just the type of person that I want to be around, someone who can pull something positive from any situation, because there is something positive in every situation. That's the type of person that I want to be.
Well, it's so interesting that your daughter could find that silver lining. Daddy's home for Christmas. How great. And that's wonderful. We talk a lot about community here at Living Full Out. And even in the hospital, there was a community of all of you who were injured in one form or another. And wasn't there a gentleman that came along and kind of helped you explain, what the process of what you might be going through, what a prosthetic might feel like?
Oh yeah, that was being in the hospital. I did my recovery at the Naval Medical Center in San Diego, and so I was around other wounded and injured service members, which was very helpful for me, because my injury wasn't nearly as bad as some others. There's some guys with double and triple amputations, and there were definitely more challenges. While I was still in my hospital bed, it was within 2 weeks of being injured, a gentleman walked into the room about my age. His name was Max Frank. And he walked in, he introduced himself, and then he reached down and he took off his leg, his prosthetic leg. He handed it to me, and he said, "This is what you're going to have in just a few months." He told me that he had been injured 6 months. He was actually being fitted for a leg that he can run in at that time. He told me it took him 2.5 months to get up in a prosthetic, and for me, man, it was huge, because part of that fear that I had, some of that emotion that I was going through, was fear of the unknown, because I didn't know what the next step was. I didn't expect that to happen in my life, and just really quickly, my life seemed to have changed, and I didn't know where to go from there. And for him to come in and to share his experiences with me, to let me see and hold the leg, was it was such a powerful moment in my recovery. I'll never forget. And something like, wow, he did that. I can go do that as well. So it kind of sparked some interest in me to go and to spend time with other wounded guys as well.
What a gift. I mean, Max, thank you. We're thanking you today, but that's such a gift. And, you brought up a really good point about the fear of the unknown. And when we've talked previously, I've been at that same crossroad. Going legally blind has been very scary, and still is. There's not a cure in sight. So I can only assume full blindness will come eventually, maybe, if there's no cure. But fear of the unknown for you was the same way. Here you were a Marine. That was your job. That's what you knew. And then you're now transitioning into a different life. Tell us a little bit about that process. I mean, did you go through times of depression, anger, sadness? Did you find humor in moments?
Yeah, it was a roller coaster of emotions. It seemed like every day, every few hours was a little bit different. And at first, I really did. It was upsetting. I felt a loss of identity. Before I stepped on that bomb, 1 second before I stepped on that bomb, I was a strong, healthy, confident Marine leader. And then all of a sudden, the next second, I was laying on my back in need of help. I wasn't even confident that I was going to live. I felt like a different person. I felt like I had lost my identity. And I remember being in that hospital bed with IVs, with bandages, missing a leg, unable to even really sit up on my own. I just felt different. And again, it was my daughter that came through huge at that point, who I think like every kid, children look up to their parents like some type of superhero, and that's how she looked at me prior to leaving for Afghanistan. And then when I was in that hospital bed, and everyone was a little bit maybe nervous to approach me. They didn't know how I was dealing with things. My daughter, not at all. She treated me exactly the same as she used to. She was amazing. That really helped me realize that I'm the same person. I'm the same person. And then I had some challenges to get past. But she was very helpful. There were times that were more frustrating. There were times that sometimes it was hard to see that. And it took looking at things through a different perspective. It took being with some other wounded guys and realizing that, to me, eventually, my single below-the-knee amputation felt like a paper cut compared to some of the guys with much more severe injuries. So sometimes it took seeing that to realize that, wow, I've actually been very blessed.
Wow. And you really have. You really have. I mean, you're doing so much, which I want to get into now, because you are our superhero. I mean, not only have you gone through all that, and I appreciate you sharing with us all those sensitive moments and talking about your daughter and talking about Max, but you really are still that same strong man, that superhero to all of us, because not everybody can do an Ironman, let alone doing it, with a prosthetic. I got to ask you, what made you decide to do that? What was the turning point for you to engage in doing Ironmans?
Oh, man, the turning point, I remember the day. I was still in my hospital bed, and up until that point, probably about 2 weeks after my injury, I had a lot of support. I'm very thankful for the support from my hometown, from San Diego, from people around the nation that never even knew me. I got a lot of cards, I got a lot of cookies, and I had a lot of people praying for me and feeling bad at the same time, and I think I needed that. But it was my commanding officer from Afghanistan who, he sent me a message, an email, that really changed my mindset. And in it, he basically said, he knew how to motivate me. He knew how to inspire me. And in it, he said, hey, Mac, when are you going to run your first marathon? Because I want to be there. And it's like, wow. Then
what a challenge.
I'm laying in a hospital bed without a leg. I didn't think about that yet. Yeah. But when he mentioned that, I started to think about my future. And I almost felt like he challenged me at running a marathon. So I had to one-up him. And I thought to myself, what can I do? I do need to do something big, because sometimes you don't really appreciate the things that you have until you don't have it anymore. And I was like, wow, I'm missing a leg. I never would have ran a triathlon or an Ironman with the 2 legs. But now that I didn't have one, I was like, man, I really missed that leg. I'm going to do something big physically. That's what I need to do. And I set my goal at running an Ironman just because it was more than a marathon.
Wow. I mean, you don't play small, though, do you? You're not a play it small kind of guy. You never were, is the thing, right?
Yeah,
so
I enjoy the challenge.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing. That's who you've always been, and that's who you still are today. So even losing a part of your leg never took that away from you. That's the amazing thing. Would you say?
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. I thought that I was a different person maybe for a few hours or a few days. Because physically I looked different, and I didn't know what the next step was. But pretty quickly I realized that I'm not the same person. And some of the same character traits that I guess my parents instilled in me, and some of the stuff that I learned growing up through playing sports, through going to school, through going to the Naval Academy, through being a Marine. After I got hurt, I realized that same effort, that same focus goes into what's going to come next. Wow. And that's, I don't know, going big was just part of who I was and part of what was going to help me recover.
And that's who you are today. I mean, it's so interesting because I work out, I do my Jane Fonda videos.
Yeah,
I know people laugh, but I still love them.
But
I cannot even imagine doing an Ironman. I mean, it's really impressive. I just got to know, when you did your first one, how did that feel? What was that moment like for you?
Oh, man. Well, it's definitely more than a moment. It's a long day. It took me 11 hours and 54 minutes. And throughout that run, throughout the race, I had done all the training. And through training, there were setbacks, there were challenges, which push you even more. But the race itself there were parts that were amazing. I felt like I was on top of the world. And there was parts that I couldn't believe that I even thought about doing this, because it was tough. It was difficult. And there were times that I was questioning, like, why did I do this? Why did I get out here? But I'll tell you what, when I crossed the finish line, even coming through that chute, maybe that last mile, I'll never forget. I can't even put it into words what it felt like, just emotionally. You know, it was, I think my eyes were welling up a little
just
bit. Like
overwhelming?
It was extremely overwhelming. Yeah. Thinking that it was 22 months after my injury. So thinking back to those 22 months, thinking about being in the hospital bed, not even able to sit up, you know, having the IVs in my arms and not really having much control of what's going on, and then setting this goal, and then crossing that finish line, looking back, I was like, man, this is so absolutely amazing. This is why I was out here. Even though the Ironman was hard, even though there were points that I didn't want to keep going, when I finished, I felt such a sense of accomplishment that, you know, it was so worth it. And it definitely, it got me hooked to Ironman.
Well, we're hooked on supporting you, and I just want all of our viewers to know, Eric is here today, but he just did a half Ironman even yesterday. So you, again, truly are our superhero, and I wish you only the best, and I know you're going to go on to do great things, and I want you to come back to the show and keep us posted on your progress and everything, but I just really appreciate you coming in today, and you're a friend of mine that I'm so glad that we've connected.
Thank you, Nancy, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I love what you do.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to be right back. Thank you again, Eric. We're going to be right back after this break. We have a great informational video coming up shortly on Lupus LA. And then afterwards, Kristen Renton, she's an actress, is going to be sharing with us about her personal connection to Lupus LA. It's going to be great. Stay tuned.
A disease with no cure.
Lupus is what happens when the body becomes allergic to itself.
A foundation without quit.
I remember finding out that I had this ailment, feeling alone and by myself and wondering what to do next, and it helped guide me in the right direction.
More than 1.5 million Americans alone are afflicted. Lupus LA on the front lines of the fight.
There are 60,000 people in Los Angeles who have lupus. That's just one city, in one state, in one country, in a privileged world.
That world coming together for a common good.
Knowledge is key with everything, and that is our responsibility to let people know what the disease is all about.
So we just want to bring the awareness level up high and just be a part of something that's positive.
This is such an important organization. Daniel Wallace is my doctor, best immunologist, one of the best men.
Dr. Daniel Wallace, a leader and innovator, an answer to many a prayer.
I get very emotional when I talk about Dan because I feel like he saved my life.
My test got sent to Dr. Wallace, and Dr. Wallace identified it as lupus.
There's a darkness upon me that's flooded in light.
I helped start Lupus LA because we felt that there was a need to involve influential, connected people in Los Angeles who could step up to the plate and make a difference and jumpstart lupus research.
Our first luncheon, we had 87 people. In 2006, we had 700 people at the luncheon.
Lupus LA quickly becoming an extended family united for a cause. In just under 15 years, we've raised awareness beyond expectation. High-profile events include Get Lucky for Lupus, the LA Marathon, the Orange Ball, and of course, the Bag Ladies Luncheon.
Give it to me.
Don't make me hit you with my pocketbook.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Shoving and watching.
Don't make me hit you with my pocketbook.
Oh my gosh, the fights, the war.
You might get a little cat fight with Sharon Stone and over this, Cartier bag.
Don't make me hit you with my pocketbook.
Every year, celebrities join forces with our corps to elevate the cause.
I ask you to open your good, compassionate, thoughtful, loving hearts and give more than you had intended to in this wonderful, glorious, and good day.
Carry on, carry on.
Those days quickly increasing, Lupus LA providing the most support in the region, the only organization in California to provide financial assistance to lupus patients.
Lupus LA is more of a family than a charity.
They kind of came to me. It was like my guardian angels that helped me through this process.
Let's keep working. Let's not get discouraged. Let's just keep doing this every year.
And now there is one prognosis this entire family shares: hope.
I see a lot of positive. A lot of people are doing better than worse.
Education and awareness, that's half the battle. Now we can work on a cure. This is what lupus looks like. It's going to be a cure. We're okay. Thank you, guys.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and I am very proud to have Kristen Renton with us. She is an actress and has been on many, many great shows. She appeared on Sons of Anarchy as Ima, and she was also on my favorite, Days of Our Lives, as Morgan's Hollingsworth. And she also gives a lot of her time to Lupus LA and many other nonprofits. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
Kristen.
you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Now, honestly, I have been so excited to chat with you because there's so many amazing things to your story. But I just want to first of all talk about all the amazing things you've done in your life. You have the successful career, obviously as an actress, been on many great shows. But you know, how hard has that journey been? Because we talked about this, and sometimes people think that when you get to a certain celebrity status, you've kind of made it. Do you continually have to keep working at it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It is a daily grind. You have to, not only do you have to stay relevant, but you know, you always have to continually mold kind of your image, your career, continually hone in on your craft. You know, there's always work that needs to be done because there's always people coming up behind you wanting to take your place. So you have to continuously work hard and you know, keep following your dream.
Still very competitive then.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Well, and the interesting thing is about your connection with Lupus LA. I'd love for you to share that with us because you're personally connected to Lupus LA with your own condition.
I am. I was actually diagnosed in 2010 with an autoimmune disease called MCTD, which has a component of lupus in it. So therefore, I do fully understand and deal with the disease. And so I had a friend by the name of Bob Guinea who I believe someone in his family and a couple of his friends were actually touched by the disease, and he was talking to me about it once I was diagnosed, and so he put me in contact with a few people, and they actually asked me to be one of their celebrity ambassadors. So I've been working with them now for a few years, and they're doing amazing work, and I mean, the amount of money they're raising and awareness that they're raising is just phenomenal. So
well, and thank you for doing that because again, not every celebrity does. Okay, I really respect the fact that you use your platform for this greater good, and you also work with other charities, other nonprofits as well, and really scatter your time and the good work that you do. Now, not all of our viewers might not understand lupus and how it affects the body. Can you share with us that, or at least through your personal journey?
For me, it does affect everyone differently. Some people have skin lesions that present kind of an overt, obvious characteristics of the disease. Personally, I deal with joint pain, joint swelling, severe amounts of fatigue, kind of more, not necessarily overt, but it's things that I deal with on a daily basis. And so, it's hard when people don't see something physically for them to understand that, why is she tired all the time, or why, well, how do your joints feel? They don't look swollen, it's within your own body that something's not right. And I have good days where, I forget I'm sick and I'm going 100,000 miles an hour. And then there's days where it's very difficult to get out of bed.
Wow. You know what? I identify with that, everything you just said, because being legally blind, a lot of people see me and they don't know that I can't see.
Yeah.
They probably think, what's her problem? Why is she running into me? You know? But the thing is not all conditions are visual, but for those of us who do have a condition, and even if somebody has something heavy on their heart, like maybe they've gone through a divorce or they're going through financial stress, we're all very much connected.
Absolutely.
And you had a very personal story. Like, you were very touched at one event that Lupus LA had that kind of opened you up to feeling not so alone. Can you share with us about that?
Absolutely. I attended the Orange Ball last year, and Kristen Johnson, who a lot of people know from Third Rock from the Sun, and now she's doing a show on, I want to say it's TV Land, or one of those fabulous stations.
Yes.
And it's called The X's, I believe, and it's a comedy and it's great. But she was the narrator that night, if you will, and she was hosting, and she got on stage and proceeded to tell her story on how she was diagnosed and all the trials and tribulations she went to, and how every doctor was telling her, no, you're fine, it's in your head. And she was at the point where she was so sick she couldn't get out of bed, and she made a comment about, I have the best health insurance and I'm able to see the best doctors and nobody could figure it out. She's like, I couldn't even imagine if I was, if I didn't have all these things at my disposal, how much longer this process would have gone on. And I had a very, very similar experience, and it was very scary. I had countless doctors telling me nothing was wrong, that everything was in my head. I had one doctor tell me that I just had woman problems. And that really, not only was that sad, I almost felt bad for him as a physician, but it pissed me off.
I was going to say, I would be angry.
It pissed me off.
Because at some point, you want, people can handle the bad news.
Yes.
But people can't handle not knowing.
Yes, that was the worst part of it.
Yeah.
And when I was finally, I was finally introduced to the doctor who now treats me, and he sat down, for an hour and a half, went over my whole medical history, what my symptoms were, how I was feeling, what was going on in my life, and he was able to give me a diagnosis that has changed my life. And and I just thank every day that I have him, and knowing that I wasn't alone in that journey, in a way, is somewhat comforting.
Yeah.
Not that I wish it upon anyone, but knowing that there are people that I can go to and talk to about it and what's going on in my life is great to know that there's a support system like that.
And you got that connection out of being at a Lupus LA event, which is great, because I truly believe that for anybody who has a condition, we need to plug into the organizations that support the conditions we have. I go to a lot of Foundation Fighting Blindness events, or I'll work with the Department of Rehabilitation, or on and on and on, different organizations that help with the eyes, and you do as well. And that brings comfort, and it really kind of makes us feel like we're not alone.
Yes, because you really don't know who is going to benefit from hearing your story, or who you can help by just being honest about your journey and what you've had to deal with. I mean, there have been plenty of people who, just through my supporting Lupus LA and social media that I've been doing, and fundraising that I've been doing, that have reached out to me and said, I have a similar story like you, and it's so comforting to know I'm not alone, or because of you I went and got checked with similar symptoms, and I now have my diagnosis. So it's great to hear that just being supportive of one another, we can help each other that way.
Absolutely. And you are such a great example of living full out. I mean, really, you just plow through, even though some days you're in pain.
Yeah.
Now I'm just curious, when you look at your life so far, what is your greatest achievement?
I think for me, my greatest achievement is being able to use the platform that I am so blessed to have, and use it for the greater good. Use it to give back, use it to raise awareness, whether it is for Lupus LA or the animal charities that I work with, or some of the other organizations, nonprofits. I've been so blessed to be able to do that, and I think if I were to leave this earth tomorrow, I hope that that's what I'd be remembered for.
Well, I think you're doing really great. Because you're in high demand.
I'm
so lucky we got her today, everybody. She's doing stuff all the time. And one of the things that I think is so important is we can go through our life and talk about the happy, but to be here and be so authentic and true and talk about your condition and supporting Lupus LA. Again, you are a friend of mine now. I'm a big Kristen Renton fan. Okay, I'm going to be at all your premieres. Okay, but thank you. I mean, really, for coming in today. I so appreciate it, and our Living Full Out community will continue to tweet you and support you in your journey.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And when we come back, we're going to be heading to the coaching corner. We have Lucas, one of our coaching clients, who is really struggling with some of his own personal challenges, and he'll be opening up about that. We'll be right back.
Imagine relaxing with a cup of the finest tea in existence. Complex, perfectly balanced, fragrant teas that were reserved for emperors and royalty are now yours to enjoy with Waterfall Teas. With a range of fragrances, flavors, and pleasures selected from the most elite tea regions in the world. The nectar of the tea leaves of our exquisite teas spreads goodness from the mouth to the whole body, making every essence of your being rejoice. Go to waterfallteas.com and let Waterfall Tea Company be your personal tea sommelier. waterfallteas.com.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and we are now in the coaching corner, and I'm here with Lucas. I have to say, I love the coaching corner because it is a time when our coaching clients are able to open up. They're vulnerable, they're willing to make changes so that they can move forward in their lives, and being able to share their story with all of us. And to me, that's a very precious time. Lucas, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you and I talked in our last session a bit about some of the things heavy on your heart, but I know you had your accident. Well, you went to South America. How many years ago?
It was about 4 years ago.
4 years ago, and then you came back ill.
I
You didn't
did.
know why, and that's frustrating, and it's been frustrating you.
Incredibly frustrating. I came back and I had, I couldn't put a sentence together. I was always fatigued. I had a lot of shallow breathing take place. I had a very difficult time with breathing.
And could they diagnose it? Did they know what
couldn't,
it was?
They couldn't diagnose it, no.
Okay, and that's frustrating.
It
A lot
was-
of anger.
Yeah, a lot of depression, a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, a lot of confusion.
And where are you today? How are you doing today?
Today, I still struggle with it from time to time.
What's the biggest struggle?
I would say not being able to form a sentence, not being able to remember what I did, losing my short-term memory. You know, what did I do this morning? And it's just tenfold. You know, everyone has some memory loss, but for me, it's extreme. It's literally, I just cannot remember what I did 1 second ago.
So literally today, you can't remember this morning. Do you find that you remember 10 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, or is it vary each time?
No, a lot of times I don't remember anything.
Wow.
I won't remember a conversation that I just had 2 seconds ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how has that affected you with relationships in your life?
You know, a girlfriend was doomed to repeat herself many, many times, and it became frustrating and definitely got in the way of our communication.
What does that mean exactly when you say that?
I had a hard time connecting with this person.
Okay.
She, you know, we wanted to connect and go deeper, but I couldn't really allow myself to connect.
Was it that she ran out of patience, or was it that you just felt you couldn't connect with her because of the limitations due to what you're dealing with?
I would say it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, she definitely ran out of patience, and you know, I experience limitations with reaching out to other people because, especially her, because I was too afraid of the backlash that I would receive from my condition. You know, I was afraid they wouldn't really completely understand me or what I was going through, so I just kind of shut down.
And that has made you lonely?
Yeah, very lonely.
Okay, so when you're lonely and when you shut down, what do you do? Do you get depressed and you stay inside? Do you cry? Do you overeat? What do you do at these moments?
I have been known to overeat, refined foods.
Okay.
You know, I become very introverted, definitely.
Okay.
I shut down. I have experienced depression as a result of this condition.
Okay.
You know, I just shut the outside world out, really. I sit into my place and I watch movies and, you know, I sometimes fantasize about what could be, but what isn't.
Well, let's talk about that. When you fantasize about what could be, What do you want your life to look like? Who do you want to be as a person?
Well, I always saw myself as being an intellect.
Okay.
You know, I love to read, and reading has been very difficult for me because I just can't remember what I'm reading.
But you can read in the moment. Like you can literally read the words on the page.
Sometimes I have trouble with that, but
Okay.
yeah, I can definitely read the words on the page, but they don't process.
Okay.
It's just like they disappear into a cloud in my mind.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay. And so in a perfect world, you wish that you could read and really understand what you're reading.
Absolutely, and communicate what I'm reading to other people. I want to get into a conversation. I'm so tired of being in a conversation with somebody and not remembering anything that I want to talk about, details. For example, I was in a conversation just a minute ago, and I had so much information to offer this person, and I couldn't remember any of the details, and it made me feel terrible about myself. It made me feel like an idiot.
But you know you're not an idiot.
Yeah,
you know that,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you say it.
I am not an idiot.
You're not an idiot.
I'm not an idiot.
And here's the thing. You have to constantly tell yourself that you are an intellect. You're not an idiot. You're an intellect. You're a good person. Because the thing is in this journey of life, it's your story. It's your journey. Everybody who is in your life are supporting roles, but you're the main star. And the thing is every day is a new day. Every minute is a new minute. So it's going to be frustrating. And I'm legally blind. And the thing is, we've talked about this in previous sessions, that it can be frustrating when we know something. Like I know that I'm legally blind, but people might look at me and not know, and they might judge me, right? You know the condition you have. You might not be able to remember things, but you feel judged.
Absolutely, 100%. And
Right?
it's very difficult to try and explain to a complete stranger why I'm acting the way I'm acting.
How do you explain to somebody?
A lot of times I make up excuses. The common ones. Like, oh, I'm just tired. I haven't had enough sleep. Oh, I just, I've been down lately and thinking about something else. Or, I whatever excuse I can come up with in the moment, I will come up with everything but the truth.
Do you know, though, that people are more attracted to the truth? You will enroll more people into your life, loving you, supporting you, if you tell them the truth. Because if we feel like people, if you give them an excuse, oh, I'm just tired, oh, I'm sorry I'm late, those are maybe like statements that would portray that you are a rude person, that you don't care. But really, you're the opposite of that. You're a very loving, caring person. So one of the things I really want you to take on this week, even today, because as you said, even a couple minutes ago, you had a lot to offer, but you couldn't remember. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities today to step forward into this next action that I'm going to offer to you, is I want you to be more vulnerable with people. I don't want you to come up with the excuse of being lazy or tired or forgot, or because even the forgot, it's not like, some people will say, oh, I forgot. But in your situation, that's a limitation you can't control. So you don't even want to say that, because forgot to you is not, it's not a fair word. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So what can you do today to evolve into kind of taking more ownership over your life, over explaining to people your situation?
Wow. I guess I just really have to be a little more compassionate and willing to allow myself to know that sometimes other people are okay with where I'm at. And I need to trust that. And I need to open up myself. If I explain to them what's going on, I might not have to continue to live in this lie, in this fear.
Trust is the key word. You have to trust people. And people are going to be equally vulnerable. I promise you this. When you open up to people about your condition, your day-to-day challenges, they're going to have something that they're going to open up to you about. You know, it took me a long time before I could open up to people about being visually impaired. I tried to fake it for a long time, so I get it. I get that. But it doesn't really support you, because then you're walking around not living your truth, not able to become the Lucas that you want to be. And you know, and I know, that you have so much to give.
I would definitely like to teach myself to be a little bit more vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So today, I want you to, you don't know when they're going to come up, these people. You don't know those circumstances. But when you have an opportunity, I want you to try to stop yourself from giving an excuse that you would normally give. And I want you to push forward. And I want you to explain to that person, you know what, I'm so sorry. Just so you know, I have this condition, or I oftentimes forget. It's not really in my control. It's a condition I have. And open up to people. It may even feel like you're oversharing, but that's so real. Your likability factor is going to go through the roof.
That's definitely the fear. It's oversharing. That's one of the biggest fears I have.
And why are you scared of that?
I'm afraid that people just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't care enough about where I'm coming from and my issues. I'm afraid to inconvenience them.
Well, you are not an inconvenience. Say it. Say that.
I am not an inconvenience.
You're not an inconvenience, and you are not an idiot.
I'm not an idiot.
You are
an inconvenience.
You are a what? An intellect.
I'm an intellect.
And you have a big heart, and you're going to open up to people. It's just about reprogramming the way that you talk about yourself. But I promise you this, you are not a bother, and people they're thirsty for you to give them the true Lucas. So I want that to be, let this be your shining moment today. Let this be the day that you step forward and be the true you.
Oh, well, thank you, Nancy.
Absolutely. Great job today. You did a good job. So thank you, Lucas.
You're welcome. Thank you.
To everybody at home, just like Lucas, you know, we all have to open up. We all have to find who we are at the core and let that shine. It's going to be scary. We're going to think that people are going to judge us. We're going to think that they're not going to want to be our friends. They're not going to love us. They're not going to want to hire us. On and on and on and on. Take anything N''T out of your vocabulary. No more couldn't, no more shouldn't, no more don't. You can be and do anything you want. That's what living full out is all about. Thank you for a wonderful program today, to all of our guests, to everybody at Studio 637, to the Living Full Out team, everybody putting on a great show today. We will be back next week with more exciting guests, and here's to you living your life full out.